Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Tuesday update, recorded on the 29th of April. Let's get into the forecast. We've got low pressure up here to the north of the country. Now see these bright white clouds. This is on the water vapor satellite map. So where you see the bright white, that's the heaviest chance of rain. So you see these explosive clouds out to sea. As the low spins around, these clouds are forming out of sort of blue sky, basically. You're seeing new downpours developing, and then that is moving in at the moment, as we recorded this on Tuesday morning, around the top part of the North Island, the far north parts of Northland. Heavy downpours, hit and miss, as that subtropical stuff moves on through. So yes, some heavy falls will move down the country tonight, and then the low kind of forms into a new system over the next couple of days, and that's going to drive in another burst of wind and rain as it starts to move away. Don't worry if you like dry weather, we've got a lot of that on the way, but before we get to that, we've still got some wet weather to see the end of April out. So here it is on the situation map, those two low pressure zones north of the country starting to merge into one system, and that will get larger as we go into tonight. And as the big high pressure systems out here to the east move a little further eastwards, it allows this low to drop right down. This is a very good example of where we're at the moment. High pressure systems like this have been tracking along from the western side to the east all year. And that's what helped produce the drought around parts of Australia and some parts of New Zealand. What we're seeing now, since pretty much March, is as each high comes through, before the next one comes in, that's when you got the chance of this wet weather. So we might see this again repeating itself over the next few weeks as we are in a bit of a pattern. Most of the Southern Ocean storms remain well to our south. But as this high, because there's a break between the highs, southerly coming in to the South Island, temperatures are dropping. And then at the top of the country, you've got these tropical winds coming in. And that's why we're going to see some heavy rain between the two systems here, possibly around Canterbury and the lower North Island. So let's explain that. Here's the 3-day rainfall brought to you by resupply.co.nz. And as you can see, the heavy rain hit and miss around the country in these sort of more orange and red areas. You can also see some purple spots. Now that's where the rainfall gets up to 100 millimeters or more. That might move around a little bit. It's a northeasterly flow. So those that point to the northeast have a better chance of that wet weather at the top of the country. At the central part of the New Zealand, lower North Island, upper South Island, that's where you've got the subtropical weather caused by that low dropping down, moving into that high pressure system further southwards with the southerly. So it kind of squashes in the middle, and that's where you get some heavy rain. So around North Canterbury, you could be seeing over 150 millimeters, certainly 100 millimeters in a number of places, as this rain gets set in. Now this might move around a little bit because of the shape of the high, the shape of the low that is still developing. And so rain can move around a bit, but it's worth noting there may be some drier areas around parts of Auckland and Waikato. Again, it depends on the hit and miss nature of those downpours that are developing. It's not like it's one big rain band moving across us. That's easy to forecast. When it's broken up like this and literally developing over the top of you, that can be a bit trickier. So the rain maps might change. The best way to stay on top of it, use our websites, use our app. Because the rainfall numbers in there, they take all the computer modeling and they crunch it every single 15 minutes around the planet. And then we produce that as a forecast for you once an hour. And it gives you the best sort of understanding as to what's happening, especially on the day itself, as the rain is sort of moving through. Here's the thunderstorm risk. This is a quick animation showing you the different colors here, yellow, orange, and red. So red is the chance of severe thunderstorms. It's a quick animation, but you'll get the idea just the next few days ahead. You see these showers at the moment today. Over the next couple of days, the low moves into the North Island, and you've got a burst of some heavier showers. I know that's a quick animation. You can go to our website. We've got lightning thunderstorm risk maps there, and of course the Met Service outlook, because there will be a few thunderstorms at the top of the country, not the bottom. That's why the label's over you, partially because the lower South Island just not involved in this. So let's make sense of it. Here we are tonight, 6 o'clock, the low, large one, because it's got two centers that are merging into one. So kind of a very large calm center to it. That can produce instability, and it's that area right next to the low where you're getting those nor'easters and that broken up rain cloud, as we just showed you on the satellite map. So some places will get more heavy rain going into tonight, and then it moves down the North Island. And while the low deepens and gets better organized, by that I mean better organized means it looks more like a proper low pressure system, and this enormous high to the east going right up into the tropics, a squash zone. Those windy nor'easters start to kick in. They're already picking up a little bit today. Tonight they might get a bit stronger in some places with gale force conditions. And we're still seeing a little bit of wet weather around Canterbury as well going across today. Now on into Wednesday, the low here still got 2 centres to it. And that's moving very slowly down the North Island, partially because the high pressure system out to the east is like a big slow truck going up a hill. And this is like the car behind it has to slowly wait for the truck to move along. No offense to truck drivers, but you got that low coming through. Windy easterlies coming through for the lower North Island. They'll be windier down around the South Island through the Southern Alps, especially leaning perhaps a little bit further to the west where they get stronger. So gale force northeasterlies around the Southern Alps as we go through Wednesday. Heavy rain now moving into the lower North Island. That's that squash zone area where you've got high pressure to the east and the south. Makes for this rain to kind of get squashed into one area. Good news for parts of Hawke's Bay. You need the rain, so does Wairarapa Upper. So there is some good news. This is not all bad news, just sort of covering all areas, because some of those downpours tonight and tomorrow may be very heavy, but you can also see rain coming into places that needs it. That's some good news. And the instability here with the low pressure, that's part of the reason you got that thunderstorm risk. So Canterbury gets rain, but the further south you go, the drier it is. And as we go through to Thursday, you see Southland, Otago don't really get any of that tropical stuff so much. In fact, as the low moves out to the east here, and that's when it deepens, the air pressure is dropping down, that's going to create between the low and the incoming high a southerly squash zone. That's the wind you see right here. So gale force winds are likely as we go through Thursday. At the top of the North Island, they may also be windy through the Auckland area, although sou'westers gusting to gale force in Auckland's about as normal as nor'westers gusting to gale force in Wellington. They happen quite often, and you don't often get too many problems from it, but just be aware of that weather, maybe a few thunderstorms around as well. Here is the wind map for 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. If you're vision impaired or colourblind, the areas with the worst winds are just off the coast of the South Island, but it's really pushing in to the lower North Island. Strong, severe gale southerlies are possible through Cook Strait, maybe going as far north as parts of Manawatu, Wanganui, and around Wairarapa Upper, especially coastal areas coming up towards about Hawke's Bay, and then you've got those windy sou'westers around Auckland. So Banks Peninsula to the lower North Island, very windy on Thursday on the coastal extreme areas. Elsewhere though, not too much of a problem. So by Friday, the end of the long week this week, feels long after the last couple of weeks, low pressure is out right over the top of the Chatham Islands. Hello to any possible viewers there. I've never heard from anyone in my 20 years of doing this job from anyone from the Chatham Islands. I would love to hear from someone who watches us from there. High pressure is firmly over Australia. Look at the size of that high, another really big high to replace the one that we're seeing at the moment move away from us. This next big one, the size of Australia, coming on in, but between that incoming high and the outgoing low, still a windy southerly coming through, a few showers here and there. Good news for the lower North Island because it is quite dry. It needs more wet weather. Hopefully this is enough to really help you out there. And once more, lower parts of the South Island, cooler airflows and remaining much drier. But look at the weekend. In comes this big high from Australia. A few more showers in the coastal fringes here and there. Otherwise a fairly dry day. Those temperatures won't be too bad considering it's a southerly, because when you track the origins of that southerly, it's coming out of Australia. So it's not like it's being bred from down in the Southern Ocean. And our second to last map here for Sunday shows the high creeping in closer. Skies drying out again in Southland after a few Saturday showers. And now we've just got the lingering southerly or southeasterly bringing a few showers along the eastern North Island. It doesn't look like much. The pale blue certainly doesn't indicate there's a lot of weather there. Southerlies out around the Chatham Islands. Here is our final map. Look at this big high. Goes all the way up to Fiji. It goes all the way down to the Southern Ocean, stretches back to Western Australia and goes out to about the international dateline. Really big system. And the latest on the computer modelling and the latest on our forecasts suggests that that high is with us for all of next week. So the first week of May, unbelievably settled around the country. But we'll be watching what's going on up here around the Coral Sea. There is a bit of energy up there. And like I say, after each high moves through, so once this one comes through, the next high still a long way off, There's a gap in the middle. Will we see something forming again up here in the Coral Sea or Tasman Sea areas that could drift towards us as we go into the second week of May? So our May outlook is coming out this week. We'll be producing that on Thursday, I believe, maybe Friday, around Thursday, Friday anyway. That'll be our May outlook, and we'll try and break it down for you, how we think May is shaping up with these really big highs still coming out of Australia. They're definitely the most dominant feature on our map, and they're kind of giving us a very slow ease, gentle easing into autumn as a result of the more settled breaks we're getting at the moment. We're certainly not getting any of the wild southerlies that we can normally get at this time of the year. For now, high pressure systems like these ones are keeping them further down around the Southern Ocean. That's all from me. See you again tomorrow with our next update.